Yeah, welcome back to Texas Rangers with the Boys. We are the Boys, your daily Texas Rangers podcast by a couple of pro wrestlers who love Rangers baseball. And hey, we want to thank you for making us the first listen of your day. This is your boy Kev, aka YBK Kevin Frazier. Listen. Your Texas Rangers are still the defending World Series champions. Don't forget it. This team has been through hell and back. Remember, just a few seasons ago, we lost 90 games. A season before that, we didn't even have hope. So before you decide to jump off the bandwagon or freak out, we are here to remind you not to do that. And if you want to talk to me about it on social media, you can go to Kevin Lee Frazier. That is Frazier. If you want to go to Texas Rangers with the Boys on social media, that's TX Rangers WTB. Don't forget to check out that website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
One word.
That's right. And don't also forget to watch us right here on YouTube at the Sports Fluent Network at Chill Town Hoops. Also one word. Joining me, as always, my co-host from Las Vegas, Nevada.
That's
We're
right.
worldwide. We're worldwide, baby. The 300-pound manimal, a.k.a. Bull. How you doing, buddy? Where can they find you on social medias?
Yeah, call me Bobby Schmurda because I'm a worldwide now, But anyway, having a good time out in Las Vegas. Got in the car on Friday afternoon and just decided wherever the road takes me is where I'm going to end up. And yesterday afternoon, I pulled into Vegas just in time to watch the Ranger game, or actually Saturday night, just in time to watch the Ranger game. Also, one cool thing about Las Vegas is they carry Bally's Sports Los Angeles, so I was able to watch both Ranger games. Well, Saturdays was a national broadcast, but Sunday I was able to just watch from the comfort of my hotel room here in on the beautiful Fremont experience. Down here in Las Vegas, it is blistering hot outside, but the wind is blowing, so that makes it even more miserable. So, looking forward to the nightfall to hit tonight so I can rummage back out around on the town. But just gonna hang out in Vegas, maybe make it up north to Reno because if you remember correctly, last year picking the World Series comes in handy. Yes, so. I'm gonna go collect some of that Diamondback money, and we'll maybe that'll get me back home. Who knows? But having a good time so far. If you want to follow what I'm doing here on the road, you can follow me at Manimal Bull on Twitter, Instagram, Manimal300, and both Facebook and TikTok at Bull Pro. I've got tons of things going on out here, but I'm not taking any pictures, so. That's just the way it is with me. I'm not much of a picture taker. I did take a picture of a bison the other day on the corner of a, I don't know, courthouse or something. I don't know why I took it. I just was at the light and I was bored. So let's take a picture. But I'll be hanging around the West Coast for a couple of days, and then next week I'll be back. But this week for the Thursday show, I should be back in the comforts. Maybe not. Who knows? If I'm not, I'm not. It is what it is. But I got to tell people, right? May 24th. That's just not even a week away. That's like 4 days away now. 4-day weekend. Get your Memorial Day weekend started right with Matt War Pro Wrestling at the Southside Preservation Hall. It's going to be a big time. Our friends from Kelly's Onion Burgers will be out there. Chicken Heads, Chicken Tenders will be out there. Replacing Big Dogs this month. We're also going to have Starry's Ice Cream inside, and Martin House Brewing is giving away all the free beer you can drink this Friday night at the Southside Preservation Hall in Fort Worth, Texas. So come on out, have a big time with the Matt War Pro guys.
Have a big time because Matt War Pro puts on one heck of a One heck of an event. So we're going to definitely encourage you to go check that out.
Did you see
And
my guy Brick Savage got a dark match yesterday on the NWA show?
oh wow, they are not ready for Brick Savage on NWA. I'm going to tell you
Yeah.
right now. They don't.
He will
They
seek and
they
destroy.
yeah, they have very few. I only know of maybe a couple of guys that could get in the ring with that guy and survive. And NWA has kind of a tendency to, they got a little bit of slapstick, a little bit of, this guy's not playing. Telling you right now, this guy's not playing. So anyway, that's really exciting to hear. Well, hey, I would love to sit and talk about Brick Savage and the NWA, but man, we're here to talk Rangers baseball. We got news. We got all Rangers today. We will update you with the American League. Where the Rangers are hanging out as far as like
Set even.
what's that? Yeah,
Set
didn't
even on the weekend. Baltimore
lose
took 2
any
and 3.
ground.
Yeah. Look who's coming up fast though, back
Oh
down there
yeah,
in third place. The Astros are
I
starting to
saw
play
it.
better baseball, and historically bad, but they're still a good team, and there's still a lot of firepower down there for the Astros. So they're coming on quick. The Mariners, tough week this week with Baltimore. So that is what it is, and the Rangers still 500, game and a half back. All the things that we prayed for in February are all happening, and now we're all just furious about it because we've seen that this thing could be much, much better than a 500 ball club, even with all the injuries amassing and all of the waiting around for starting pitching. And starting pitching, which was supposed to be a weak spot in this organization this year, has been a strong point. John Gray, Jose Urena, Andrew Heaney, Michael Lorenzen have all taken the ball every fifth day and given you a decent start. Heaney's had a handful of okay ones. Lorenzen's had a couple of okay ones, but for the most part, those guys are taking the ball every fifth day and they're producing. And that's not exactly something that we saw coming whenever this season started. And those aren't even the guys that we saw doing it. We thought that Lorenzen may end up a bullpen piece as they got healthy. But that's not going to be the case for anytime soon. We thought maybe the same same thing about Heaney as they got healthy, that he would be a bullpen hand. But as of right now, those guys are every fifth day going out, taking the ball and giving you at least enough to keep you in it.
Yeah. Well, starting pitching and pitching in general, has exceeded expectations. And what we really needed from this team, and we're going to talk about that in a second. Actually, we're not going to get too much into it just yet. But what we needed from this team, we're just not getting. But before we jump into a couple of really good questions that we just felt like it was worth asking about this squad. So Adolis Garcia, we saw the big collision last night or night before last. Simeon did the not very often done the side scorpion. So you've seen the side scorpion where the guy, you go in and you hit
and you plant and then your feet go over,
right over your head, right? That's called a scorpion. He did the side scorpion where he hit sideways and then flipped over his body. His body flipped over him. And, I was more worried about like a neck injury or like a stinger kind of thing with that. He had the red on the side of the face, but, he was playing yesterday or today. And Garcia was the one that came out, and they said that something he had some swelling or something going on with the forearm.
He was originally in the lineup for today, and then he took some BP, and they decided that it would be better to go with Grossman today or yesterday. And I don't know. I don't prolong seeing him out for a very long time. Maybe an off day today will give him what he needs to be back into the lineup tomorrow. But a couple of days off in a row probably won't hurt anything. The Rangers do have the old, what do they call that today? The old bye before they head to Philadelphia for a handful of games or 3-game series or whatever. So hopefully everything will be fine after after he gets a couple of days off here in a row, and we can look forward to seeing him back in the lineup on Tuesday.
You know what bothers me about the Adolis Garcia thing is that it was this forearm and he's getting an MRI. Like, I'm like, an MRI? Like, I don't know. The MRIs suck, man. Like, those are not fun to do. I'm sure for athletes it's pretty common, but like, no one wants to go and do an MRI. And I just thought it was really interesting, like pretty heavy precautions. It's just one of those things where I'm like, man, the last thing I want to hear is that Adolis Garcia is
Hopefully he didn't hurt himself taking those 14 extra swings he took in that 37 inning game Saturday night.
Well, hey, we're going to talk about that. But also, before we talk about anything else, we're going to stay here in the injury news. So what it seems like is the Cody Bradford thing starting to turn into an indefinite. I think the word I heard was indefinite, I think, on the broadcast today. So we don't know what's going on with Cody Bradford.
Yeah, and it's funny is like it seems like he feels fine until he pitches, and then he's running into a little bit of trouble there. But fractured rib, it's hairline very small. It's one of those things that it could linger for a while, and it could be a problem for a while, especially if he's feeling good, feels like he should go out there and throw. And then that's putting the pressure right back on that hairline fracture that's causing the pain in the first place.
Yeah, really, really. I've become jaded at this point with injury reports. I just don't believe a word of it anymore. I just don't. Like, when they get out there and they say stuff, all I hear is like the Charlie Brown teacher. Wah, 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 wah. Like, if I don't, like, what I see in print is like, when what's in print contradicts like common like sense injury stuff, like, or they downplay stuff, or they don't mention things, or they try to like slide stuff. I just something about this Bradford thing bothers me, because first it was a back thing, and then now it's a rib thing, and then I heard him say, like, on the broadcast, and maybe that's just a bad report, but indefinite. And I'm like, ugh, none of that.
Well, an indefinite could totally mean a week.
It could,
but it could mean.
It doesn't usually mean.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, no, I get it, and it's not like how they do it. They sell it to you. It's like they sell you the good.
Yep.
And then we saw it last year with DeGrom. They sold us good all the way up until it was Tommy John.
Yep, and we knew.
Oh yeah, it's just a little forearm. Yeah, but we all kind of knew. We were just hopeful that it wasn't going to be that, and that's what gives you that hopefulness, is the fact that you're seeing it, and you're seeing the reports that it's not. Oh, it's no big deal. He's just got some forearm, whatever. And we all know what that really turns into. And most of the time, for the most part, they caught a really big break last year when Nathan Eovaldi didn't have something end up tearing in his elbow, and he caught it in an appropriate amount of time. We knew that DeGrom wasn't healthy after that start, that he went 4 innings and came out of the game, and then he went back out and blew the A's away. So we all just felt like everything was going to be okay. Yeah. And then, we didn't also notice on that his fastball was down 1.5 miles. We didn't notice that, those aren't things that we noticed whenever he's throwing 7 shutout innings. So, with Bradford, cautiously optimistic that this is going to be, a couple of more weeks to a month. But at this point, I'm not expecting Cody Bradford to pitch on this thing before the All-Star break.
I want to be optimistic. When it's like legit, because they think about the Josh Young thing. He has this, he's going to do this, he'll be back here. And then they come back like it's all and no like, and then literally he comes back. Oh, it's going to be 10 weeks instead of 8 weeks. And you don't hear nothing else. And to me, I fully believe he'll be back in the timetable that they say.
Yeah, and speaking of Josh Young, he was cleared to start doing baseball activities this weekend. Or this past weekend. So hopefully sooner than later. Hopefully whenever he's ready to come off that 60-day on June 4th, that he'll be ready to come back. But, again, still cautiously optimistic on that. I know that, 10 weeks is 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with broken bones, you're dealing with broken bones. That's just the way it is.
One other quick point this is totally random, but you said fastball. You said DeGrom, and it made me think of two things, two syllables over the weekend. Paul freaking Skeens. My Lord have mercy, bro.
Yeah, he's going to be a good one. Let's just hope.
Don't say it.
Yeah. Let's just hope. Knock on wood or granite or
I got
whatever.
wood right here. Like this. Let's enjoy it.
Absolutely.
This crap, man. Like, look. Like, I thought the first time I saw him, I thought, okay, honeymoon phase, like infatuation. No, man. No hits through 6 innings, 11 Ks. And look, man, that sinker thing, that splitter that he throws, that thing is gross. Like, I don't see no one else's pitches do what his does.
No, and we saw a good splitter. We saw a good splitter yesterday from Soriano in Anaheim, and it's not even close to the same thing.
Dude, this thing is coming 90, 95, and he throws it right at the bottom of the zone. And at the last minute, it dives
off.
Like it's a full, like we're talking like this much. It just bam, and it's 95, man.
Well, I mean, if you remember a couple of weeks ago on the show, I asked, why are they wasting this kid throwing bullets at the AAA level at this point?
His fastball 90 or it's 100 miles an hour, 99, 100 miles. But it's never down the middle, man. Like he's always on a corner.
Edging. He's always edging, yeah.
And what I think is really impressive about him is that, like, when he's throwing to lefties, he's a righty. So he's a right-hander, right? I feel like I'm got my But when he's throwing to lefties, like he's hitting that outside corner with these guys. Like, I mean, he's just like painting it with 100 miles an hour. And then he throws that freaking wild sweeper thing that starts starts in the right-handed batter box out here off the screen, and then boom, pops in there right on the outside corner. And it's like, man, like he is just electric, man. Like it's something special, man. You know it when you see it, because we see really good pitching. Obviously, we watch 160 games a year. Last year, we watched 160 games a year, and we watched all the good ones come through here. Garrett Cole and we saw Shohei Ohtani. Like, we've seen them all like come through here. We've watched pretty much every major big league pitcher, that Zach Gallen, like we've watched them all come through here, man. I'm telling you right now, what we're seeing, whatever the stuff coming off this guy's arm is in its own. He's got his own category right now. And as you said, let's hope he stays healthy. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
When your comparisons are Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor, Steven Strasburg, you're in good company, especially as a youngster. And I'm just hoping that everything goes well for this guy. Pirates, no Pirates. Hey, 5 years from now, he's going to be a free agent anyway. So, man, if we're as committed to winning as we all talk about here in the Rangers organization these last couple of years, then you know what? Paul Skeens might be right on that radar in a couple of years.
Hey, come trade at the bank. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to want our whole farm system.
Well, nah. When he's a free agent, we just go take him. You don't have to give the whole farm system up. You just sign him in the off season afterwards.
Love it. Okay, so let's do a couple quick questions about this Rangers team. It's good. It's probably more important that we talk about this than we over meticulously talk about like a really ugly weekend of baseball for the team. We're definitely going to talk about Saturday night, because that was just whatever. But first question, two questions. First question: what is different about this offense, about the offense this year? I'm going to kick it over to you. I've got some numbers to tell you what's different, but I'm going to let you kind of kick it around.
Based off of eye test, you're not seeing the numbers being put up with runners in scoring position. You're seeing a lot of stranded base runners, no 2-out RBIs at all. I mean, you almost feel like if it gets to 2 outs and they've got the bases loaded or runners on second and third, no one's going to get that hit that you need. It just doesn't feel that way this year. Last year, it felt like every big hit that they needed, they got. It doesn't help that Adolis Garcia is in a tremendous slump that he's just kind of starting to pull out of this past week. Now Nate Lowe is going into a slump while Garcia's pulling himself out of it. Seager's starting to play better, but Josh Smith is starting to slump a little bit. So it's like you're not getting everybody hot at the right time. You're not seeing guys, like last year it felt like when you needed that big home run or you needed that big extra base hit, you get that. And this year it feels like when you need that big extra base hit or run or home run, you're getting like a single.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just not producing runs. And then, like, I don't know, like, I feel like Beasley is struggling over there at third base because when he tries to be aggressive, it's at the wrong times. And then every time that you feel like he needs to be aggressive, he's holding the runner. It's just, he's in a bad way over there. It's not his fault by any means. I'm not like the way the Rangers are playing or the hitting isn't on him at all. It just feels like that there's like everything's piling up at once. Whereas you could tell me that this team is hitting the ball and that they're first in batting average and all of that stuff. But me and you we've done those numbers. We've put those numbers together. And yeah, the Rangers have had a handful of really, really nice games. But we talked about it. They've scored 31% of their runs or 41% of the runs in 7 games.
Yep.
That's not okay. That's not how you win baseball games, man. So, you can give me all the stats about the Rangers are still hitting the ball like they did. But, man, you can also put lipstick on a pig and it ain't a lady.
Well, let me give you some statistics that are going to back up what you're saying, because one thing the Rangers are not doing is are not the offensive juggernaut they were last year. And when I say they weren't, they're not. Like, I'm going to give you some numbers real quick. Last year, in 162 games in the American League, they were number 1 in runs scored, number 1 in hits, number 2 in doubles, number 1 in home runs, number 1 in batting average, number 1 in on base, number 1 in slug, and number 1 in OPS. That was the American League last year. This year, the Rangers are number 3 in runs scored. Not bad. They are number 14 in doubles, from number 2 last year, number 14 in doubles. They are number 7 in home runs. So, okay. But again, you're talking about a lot of compiling just a few games. And again, now keeping going down the line here, batting average number 3. Now on base percentage, number 3, because we know these guys like to walk and they do get hits. Number 9 in slug and number 5 in OPS. And this is in the American League. So we're not talking league wide. We could probably see them fall a little further. So my point is that offensively, they have not been the same team this year that we had expected, that we saw from them last year. I know Josh Young has been out, and I know that that's a big thing, and it definitely makes a difference. But also, too, last year, runs batted in, they were at 5.2 runs batted in per game. This year, they're at 4.4. So definitely a lot, not doing nearly as good last year with runners in scoring position. And there were times last year where they even struggled with runners in scoring position. They had a little bit of ups and downs.
And again, they had such a historic start. Through May, we're talking about this team with the 1929 Yankees.
Yeah.
And so you knew there would be some regression. You saw some of it last year at this as the season went on. I think the problems this year is, you're not seeing the same thing from Garcia. You're not seeing the same thing from Seager. And those are the 2 guys that the lineup goes as those guys go. And especially with Young being injured. We saw it the first handful of games. He was making great contact, and he was their best player for the first week of the season. Also, too, Rangers number 5 in the American League in total bases as well.
All right. One of the things that I wanted to point out too is that, last year we, we made our kind of our jokes about Mitch Garver last year. We always talked about his durability, but this year I really, really think when you're talking about Kisner as your backup, kind of catcher, and really just how they've had kind of this revolving door, a designated hitter. And again, it's always hindsight 2020, but I think missing a guy like a Garver in the lineup this year, because you're not seeing a huge drop off from, like, Leody Tavares has been about kind of the same guy. But you're also, again, you're missing a ton of games from Josh Young. You're missing those games with Mitch Garver. You've missed a lot of games with Nathaniel Lowe. So, you're seeing not only, and then of course, Evan Carter hasn't, he only played 75 or, he only had 23 games last year, but he had a pretty good amount of plate appearances. So, like, I also think a lot of it too is like the personnel. Now, I know we've got our core guys, like Jonah Heim has been there for the lion's share, Simeon, but we did miss Seager a little bit, there at the beginning. And I say miss him, meaning like he was coming off of an injury. And we've had to see, Josh Smith, I feel like has helped pick up a little bit of the slack. But when you're talking about slug, like the kind of slug you were getting from of a Garver and from a Young, like, is good. Man, if we add a Josh Smith to that, then you're also like, that's icing on the cake. But one other thing too, remember last year, Zeke Duran last year hit 14 home runs, and he was scorching at this time of the year last year. And Robbie Grossman was also playing pretty good. And he was a guy that like, he really was one of those guys that the numbers didn't tell. We said it all year last year that the numbers didn't quite tell you the story with Grossman, because he was the guy that was getting that walk to start a rally. He was the guy that would, get a ground ball that would drive a runner in.
Mash it lefties.
Right. Like, he would do little things for this team. And he started he was kind of a rally starter for this team. That made it, again, I just think personnel wise, there is a difference. And this is worth noting, and it's not an excuse. It was necessary, but we had to find out what we had in some of these younger players like Wyatt Langford. We had to put Evan Carter out there and see what he was going to do on a day-to-day basis. We had to see what we had in Justin Foscue. Obviously, we didn't get that. We had to see what we had in Sam Huff. He hasn't lived up to expectations. Davis Wenzel. And so, again, like, I think when you look at some of the players that aren't here, when you look at the Gerald Walshes and the Andrew Kisner coming in to replace some of these other guys that, were pretty good role players for this team in run production and keeping the lineup moving. I just think you're also missing a few of these role players, and some of these young players haven't lived up to what we had hoped, because you've seen. Go ahead.
And I was just going to lead us right into that second question.
Right.
Because I think that the not hitting the run support, the amount of games where they're playing close games, it's really taking its toll on the bullpen too. Right. Even though the bullpen, in my opinion, has been really good, like, I feel like that every night the bullpen is fighting for their life. Every night. I mean, Bochy's having to go to the bullpen in a tie ball game, down a run, up a run, and there's just zero flexibility for these bullpen guys right now. They have to be perfect. There's just no room for mistake, and if they're not perfect on a night, you end up seeing your team go down, or your team, we've seen it quite a bit. I mean, all weekend, this weekend, we saw the bullpen struggled, but it was a lot of the fact that there weren't any runs on the board.
Right. No, and you make a great point. I mean, the real question is like, it's hard to tell if, the bullpen is the issue when they're getting taxed on innings. They're getting put in really tough situations. And in many ways, like they're not getting a ton of help from the offensive side of the ball, because we talked about the Jack Leiter situation the other day where he goes out there, throws 34 pitches, and then the lineup goes out there 1, 2, 3 and 9 pitches, and he's barely had a breath. And I mean, there's been many situations where, the offense has not even been able to help these guys get
and it came to play today too. You think in a 1-0 ball game right there, Bruce Bochy wants to go to Jonathan Hernandez?
Mm-hmm.
No, he wants to go to David Robertson or Kirby Yates, but he can't because last night the Rangers couldn't score one run with the ghost runner until the 13th inning, and he had to waste Yates, he had to waste Robertson, he had to waste Yuri. He had nobody left today.
Yeah.
And, I'm not putting Yuri in that same category as Robertson and Yates, but when you think about it right now, he's pitching probably about as well as anybody else in the bullpen at this point. And, when you have to use those guys for 2 innings apiece and to cover 7 innings of a ball game, it really does take its toll. And today, there is not one way that if he's got his full bullpen, that Bochy goes to Jonathan Hernandez there in the 7th. If he's got a full, healthy bullpen that's ready, he goes to Robertson in the 7th there, gets out of that. He goes back out for the 8th, and they go to Kirby Yates in the 9th, and they probably win a game 1-0.
Right.
But because the Rangers aren't scoring any runs, think about this. Like last night, they get a base hit in the 10th inning right there off the bat, and Josh Smith gets thrown out by a block at the plate. It wasn't like a hair. It wasn't like he got thrown out by a block.
Yeah, it was rough. Let me give you a couple of interesting stats about the pitching this year. So again, the pitching has been better, but what's funny is that after kind of digging into it a little bit, like the pitching last year, as much as it seemed like it was, whatever. Last year the pitching was number 10 in the American League in earned run average. This year they're 8th. When it comes to saves, 12th last year, 13th this year. As far as like total earned runs, like dead even, 10-10. And then as far as Ks, the big difference has been the strikeouts. Rangers were 12th last year in Ks. This year they're sitting pretty at number 5. So earned run average last year was at a 4.28. This year it's at a 4.11. So I would be willing to bet a lot of that has come from a lot of the help that you're getting from your starting pitching. And I think a little bit of it might be inflated by some of the scenarios that the Rangers have gotten into that we've just been talking about. And so again, stats don't tell you the whole story, but I also think like it also goes to show how much the offense last year really helped out in putting the Rangers in situations where they could use guys that maybe were not their best guys. And when they gave up a run here and there, it wasn't like it was the end of the world. This year, man, when the Rangers got down, I think it was 4-1 yesterday, I don't know how many times now, like since about halfway through this portion, of the season, I've been like, man, this doesn't look good. Rangers down 3-0, like 3-1. Like, I don't know, man. This ain't the same team that could go put up 7 runs or 3 runs, a 3 spot, a 2 spot, a 1 spot, and get themselves back into the game. And while
they had the tying run on base yesterday in the 8th inning. And Josh Smith really didn't have that competitive of an at bat.
Right.
He fell behind 0-2 and and instead of I feel like Josh Smith, he's getting a handful of calls that are not helping him at the plate, and he's allowing that to affect him in the plate appearance, and that just can't be the case. And
well, if we had $1 for every time any of these hitters have come up there with runners in scoring position in a crucial portion of the game where they needed to get some runners across. Like that has been a huge issue. There's a joke going around Ranger fandom and probably all Ranger media for that matter that, all you got to do to shut the Rangers down is load the bases. And it's kind of sad. Yeah, it's sad, but it's still true.
Yeah.
And again, you just don't see one of the things too that the offense made a difference on last year too, going kind of pairing these things together is that when they would get 3 runs one inning and 2 runs another inning and 1 run another inning, like that taxed the other team's bullpen, especially in a series, which caused the Rangers to get even worse, better.
Right.
To look at.
Right.
So,
but they're allowing starters to work deep. They're not getting into these bullpens, and when they do get into the bullpens, they're getting into those winning sides that are good shutdown pitchers.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, I think again we kind of see that kind of some of this stuff is perpetuating it. It combines itself together. The important thing to remember here is that like after all this, the Rangers are still just a game and a half back. And I think it's going to be a dogfight all year in this division. I think the Rangers are gonna figure out some of their problems in the lineup. But what I'm not expecting, and I'm okay with that, is I'm not expecting the offensive juggernaut that we saw last year. I'm just not going to expect it until I see it. But what I do expect is competitive at bats. I do expect once they get a little bit healthier, for this team to start to wear some of these pitching down. And as pitching comes through this year and we start to get a little more healthy, to see a different maybe Rangers team this year than we saw last year.
Yeah, and like I was talking about with listening to the broadcast from the Angels' point of view today, that's one of the things that they said when they see Texas again in July. They don't expect to see the same team.
Right. That's a good point, and I think that's worth talking about. I think everybody knows that, but again, like, is that going to be what it is? Like talking about it and being about it are two different things.
100%.
Speaking about talking about it, speaking about being about it, bro, we just put in the bag maybe my favorite Down on the Farm with the Boys exclusive content episode that we've ever done. And if you're feeling down about the major league team right now, let me tell you this. You need to go to our website or our Spotify page and check it out and subscribe. It's just $1.99 a month for the audio portion. If you want to see our beautiful faces with this natural front lighting that I got going on over here in my computer desk, then you can go to @Chilltown Hoops here on the Sport Fluent Network, and you can subscribe and see these made for radio faces, and you can subscribe there. And we have 3 different levels. On that 3rd level, you can actually pop onto the show, join us via video. But man, the top 10 list this week was hot. We talked a ton about the Arizona Complex League. There's guys, there are projects that I didn't even know were going on with this team. We got guys coming up from the Dominican Summer League that have never really played baseball stateside, that are tearing the cover off the ball at the Arizona Complex League. A lot of excitement going on there. We're talking teenagers, man. Guys have been playing for this team since they were 16 years old, starting to come around. We got guys slugging at 900 at Hickory right now. I mean, look, I'm telling you, there is a ton going on. But, man, those top 2 on our top 10 are about as exciting a news as you're going to get within this organization right now. The number 1 player, he's been number 1 more than one time, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, might be the most exciting thing going on in this organization. And that's saying a lot because number 2 on that list, they've been kind of swapping out back and forth all year long. And if you listen to the content, you'll know who we're talking about, but I can't tell you enough. Go check it out. Tons of extra content, tons of stuff, tons of things to be excited about. And some of these guys, we may not be done with the minor league guys getting a crack at it at the major league level. We might not have seen the last of some of these prospects playing at the big league level. If you want to hear us talk about it, again, go check us out. Down on the Farm with the Boys, where we cover all things Rangers, minor league. You can make us a stop shop for all things Rangers organization-wide. I can't tell you enough. This week's show was a blast. Manimal had his homework done, And man, we had hot take after hot take after hot take, and we were digging into it, and it was a lot of fun. So go check it out. You won't regret it. Now, let's talk about, I mean, man, do we want to put ourselves through
Here's a recap. Here's a recap of Friday. Marcus Semien hit a mop-up home run. Heim had a solo shot. Andrew Heaney wasn't very good. And, of course, Josh Smith showed up when no one else did.
Right.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, it's good that he showed up, but it's a bad thing that he's the only one showing up. And it seems like
if you gave Josh Smith the same amount of love and the same amount of excuses that you give Leclerc, by all but it seems like every show you find a way to knock the guy who's probably leading the team in every offensive category. So
he is. Maybe that's why I'm knocking it, is the fact that it's him leading the team and all this stuff, and it goes all the way back to but it goes back to what we were just talking about in the segment before that. I like Josh Smith. I just feel like he hits when no one else hits, and then on nights where they need a big hit from him, he doesn't have it in him.
Well, he does. It's
not. He's had plenty of big hits this year. I mean, that was what
he does lead the
12th double. 12th double this year.
Leads the team in batting average with runners in scoring position.
Yeah, crazy.
So I mean, Josh Smith is probably the least amount of issues going on with
absolutely. I would agree. I mean, the biggest issue they're going to have with Josh Smith is finding him playing time coming forward, because he's earned it.
Right. And I mean, Travis Jankowski, another guy who comes to play, it seemed like every day when everybody else leaves their cleats in the back,
Well,
carry on.
Heaney, not real great. He had an error that really hurt him. But that it doesn't matter. I mean, he gave up, a couple of runs there that would have ended up being enough to get beat anyways. First time I've ever seen 3 Andersons pitch in one game. You had Grant on, and then Tyler for the Angels, and that's about it. You got anything to? I mean, no one pitched very well for the Rangers on Friday night.
No, this is look, with the Heaney thing, I don't. This is going to happen with him.
Mm-hmm.
This is why he's not your number 1, number 2, number 3 even. This is going to happen with him. If this is the thing that you're getting frustrated with about this team,
there's like 20 things to be more frustrated about than Andrew
Heaney is not what's wrong with this
team.
No, he should be.
What we talked about, the fact that they couldn't come up with a hit with runners in scoring position on the next night to get that thing over with, so they had some bullpen.
They only had 1 at bat on Friday night. Only had 1 at bat with runners in scoring position. 1.
Yep.
1 at bat. The rest was home runs by Semien, home run by Heim, and then, like you said, Josh Smith with went 2 for 2, yada yada yada. Not a pretty game on any stretch. At the end of the day,
the Rangers against.
I feel like this. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Address it.
You ever seen that cartoon where Bugs Bunny throws the baseball and 45 people swing at it in one pitch?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's swinging through it. That's what the Rangers look like when they face left-handed pitching.
And I think now it's mental. I don't even think it's actually a legit thing anymore. I think they've got it in their head. I think there are a couple of good games against a couple of good lefties from dealing with the issue.
I know. We feel like, but I feel like we've been saying that about the offense all season.
Well, and again, I'm not even expecting last year's offense, but what I am expecting is a little bit more fight, a little bit more competitive at bats, a little bit more competitive games. But anyway, hey, let's talk about this wild, probably the weirdest game we're going to see all year, because it's the weirdest game I've seen in 2 seasons covering the team. So I don't know if we're going to see another one of these for a year.
Did either of those teams deserve to win?
I mean, what was it? 3 for 30 with runners in scoring position. The Angels were had to be a historically bad.
2 for 30.
2 for
2 hits. with runners in scoring position
Oh
for
man,
both
okay.
teams. And hell, they started every inning after the ninth with a runner in scoring position, and it didn't help them.
Yep.
Man,
And I mean,
sacrifice bunt didn't help nobody. This didn't help nobody.
well, it doesn't help that
Nothing.
nobody can bunt anymore. Nobody even knows how to bunt.
No,
So,
and trying to get down one of those 83-mile-an-hour sweepers. Good
mhm.
luck with that. And then he follows that up by, what'd you say, 105 pointed on the corner. Like, I mean, it's hard to bunt. It always has been hard to bunt, but like, again, I don't think I just don't think guys put that into their game anymore. They don't like it. Like I always tell people in pro wrestling that the reason that these easy things that used to make a whole bunch of money don't work anymore is because that's not what those kids want to do. They don't want to make money. They don't want to be. They want to be professional wrestlers doing professional wrestling the exact way they want it to be done. And you've seen it in all sports. I mean, basketball, the kids sit out on the 3-point line. I used to hear Jordan talk about in interviews how he never focused on shooting 3-pointers because it took away from the rest of his game. And now you've got guys that just sit on the arc, and that's what they do. They shoot 3-pointers, and then they play a little bit of defense. In baseball, you're seeing that bunt go away, that sacrifice, getting runners over. I mean, does it make sense to give up an out to move guys over? Not always, but there's an
listen, I'm going to tell
occasion
you right
where
now,
it does.
1982 to 1980 to 1992, that game's over in the 10th inning.
Yeah, that's why they didn't used to have
Yeah,
a ghost runner on second base
yeah,
because
that
they
game's
used to
over.
steal bases and get
Like,
guys over and get them in.
yeah, that game's over with old school baseball because you bunt one guy over, you hit and run, and I mean it's over. Like I mean it's it's a totally different game. It is what it is, like you said, it's what we focus on. Is what the game like our dads or like our dads when they back in my day things were so much better.
Well, my dad used to say put pressure on defenses, and that still works to this day. And no matter what sport it is.
But
No
what a
matter what
crazy
sport it is. Urena was really excellent.
Yeah, Urena was good. Pitching was great for the Rangers. I mean, I guess it was great. I mean, or was the hitting really, really bad? It's hard to tell, but the numbers
a little of both, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Joe Adell, that foul ball that he hit, I don't think I've ever seen a ball hit that hard to that side of the field in the Ranger Stadium. Did you see that thing?
He smokes the ball. Yeah, no.
He's been a slow deck, like up there where the wooden chairs are.
Yeah, up there by the car block.
Yeah, man, that thing. I was like, oh my god, that was like
when you turn on a ball like that and it goes into that part of the stadium, it's probably still only about 410 feet. It just happens to be going down the line or whatever.
Hit it at a freaking on a
but
rope.
It was still a rocket. Yeah, that kid. He's been a long progress, but I think that the tools are going to be worth it for the Angels.
The tools are there. It's just he's not able to make contact. I mean, I think that's what it really boils down to is that the arm is there, the speed is there, just that he's not able to make contact or has not been up to this point able to make contact at the major league level. Well, let's wrap it up with another almost like a replay game of Friday on Sunday. Rangers just not a lot going on offensively. A so-so pitcher goes out. I mean, he's not so. I mean, he has some stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no, Soriano's got some stuff. These Angels pitchers actually do have some stuff.
But these are guys that have been getting lit up all year long, and the Rangers can't seem to find a way to grind out some runs with them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Another really good performance from Michael Lorenzen. He ends up getting the loss on that thing, but I mean, when he left the game, they didn't have any runs on the board. It just happened to be, Hernandez. I mean, you can't walk that guy. Can't walk him there. And then, it's forgiven the fly ball down the left field line. I mean, there's nothing you can really do about that. It just happened to land in foul territory. But there's a guy on second that's having to wait and see if that ball's going to land before he can take off if you don't walk that guy. And he only gets third base, and then you can still try and work out of that thing. But Hernandez really didn't have much. I mean, It's kind of been the case for him all season this year. He's got such good stuff, so I don't believe they're going to try and, designate him or anything like that. It's got to be, you just got to figure out what it is that's wrong. And I mean, because again, he's one of those guys that he has good stuff. It's just executing good stuff. No, I know, Baron. It's funny to me too, but no, but you're trying to you got to execute. I mean, just having good stuff doesn't get outs in the big leagues. You gotta execute too.
Yeah. Not a lot to say about the game. Seager home run was nice. Simeon, the guys at the top of the order. I feel like we could always say they could be doing more, and I believe as the season goes on and when it all shakes out, I believe that we'll be able to say that they did. But it just has not been able to come together like at the same time. And I also think, again, I think the biggest letdown for this team more than anything offensively has been the role players not contributing. At least that's what the numbers are saying. The role players haven't contributed this year as much as they did last year. I think that's the big gap. I'm not saying that we couldn't see more, that we couldn't get more from Simeon, Seager, Lowe, Heim. I'm not saying we couldn't, Tavares, like we could, but I also think you're just not seeing the same contribution.
Well,
the role play.
And one more thing about this game, and then I'll let you get us out of here. They lost 4-1. Soriano was really good. Lorenzen takes the loss. Garcia gets a save for the Angels. But the Rangers had 9 base runners, and all they had to show for it was a solo home run. That's just not acceptable. That's not acceptable. You can't have 9 base runners or 7 hits, 2 walks, and all you have to show for it is the solo home run.
Yeah,
also it's unacceptable. I mean, and also, you always say that I'm too nice to this kid. Leody Tavares, get back on a ball, goddammit. That ball that Willie Calhoun hit, it was hit 107 miles an hour off the bat, and you lofted back on it like you were going to just make a play on it. Get back underneath the ball and get underneath the ball.
Yeah. I
made excuses for him.
Yeah, I don't disagree. One other thing about this team that I think needs to kind of be brought up a little bit because they're having the issue with the slug is Marcus Semien can run. Josh Smith can run. Evan Carter can run. Jankowski can run. Grossman can run. Tavares can run. Garcia can run. Like, these are not like unathletic. And I mean, I know Seager's not as fast as he used to be, but he can get around the bases. Nate Lowe still, I've seen him steal a base. I've seen him go from second to home on a single. These guys can run and like get after it on the base paths. Like, maybe they need to like change their mindset a little bit until they start slugging more about maybe getting some station to station.
Well, and maybe the idea
is like do something a little bit different to try to get some more movement, because it's not like these guys aren't athletic, but yet when you go and look at their numbers and you look at what they do on the bases, like honestly, like that's been their biggest, like one of their weak points. And last year it was fine because I mean they were second in the league in doubles and first in homers. Like,
yeah,
it's easy
this year the slugging hasn't been there,
right,
and maybe maybe just the idea of putting pressure on pitchers and putting pressure on defenses and making guys, I mean, sure, you're going to probably run yourself into some outs here and there, but at the same time, man, how many times can you see the same thing until you just say, hey, let's try a little something different?
Yeah, and again, this is probably sounds like a Bochy criticism, and I don't mean
and
it.
It's not really. It's
just like you just got to think they could at least lean into this until they start seeing something else happen, because they've got athletes on this team and plenty of other teams that have come through Texas or that we've played against, Rangers. Maybe my 2 cents of something that maybe part of their game they could lean into that might help them out a little bit. All right, well, let's call it a day, man. lot of fun.
Rangers drop
Get
2 or
out to
3.
Vegas, man. Stop talking baseball and get out. Go to Vegas. Go do your thing. Go have
All
a good
that does
time.
is cost me money, man.
Hey, I got you out of
I
here.
remember you used to go to Vegas to drink for free and all that stuff, but now, like,
3
good
hotels
Lord,
and no more.
I went to the bar and dude said $8 and gave me a beer this big. What the hell?
No, you got to do the Willie Mack and have like your grocery bag full of.
Yeah. I was actually talking to him about that the other day. That's so funny. He called
walking down the strip with a grocery bag full of
Bud Lights
or something. Yeah, that's what you got to do. Anyway, I think it's open container in Vegas. So I mean, pretty much do it.
No glass bottles anymore.
There it is. So hey,
must have some knife fights or something.
Let's get out of here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. What a blast! Even though the Rangers are having their struggles, we're still having fun talking baseball because honestly, in a world of things that don't always go your way, we always have a ball game to watch. And even if it's not the ball game you wanted to watch today, I had a blast watching baseball, enjoyed it, and I love coming on here talking baseball. Don't forget to check us out on TX Rangers WTV. Don't forget to check us on our website, TexasRangersWithTheBoys.com.
All one word. Hey, Kev, real quick before we get out of there, you don't like what's going on with the Rangers? Get you that MILB package and start watching the Round Rock Express and the Frisco Rough Riders because they're playing some good baseball right now.
You got that right. Definitely go check out Round Rock because that team is hot, and a lot of good young players out there playing some good baseball, and especially on that pitching staff. And that's a good segue to tell you about our exclusive content. You can go onto our website and get Down on the Farm with the Boys. We cover all things Rangers, minor league. Don't forget to check us out right here on YouTube at the CTH Network for the 300-pound Manimal. This is your boy Kev. The little Manimal's over there just hanging out, doing his thing. He got to join the show today as well. We are Texas Rangers with the Boys. We're signing out.